A bold decision and broad disagreement.
We will be starting all classes for students remotely.
I'm not happy about it.
3 out of 4 Denver parents say they wanted their kids in school this fall.
I was hoping that they return to school.
Denver schools will start the year online anyway.
And this is where community is really going to have to go together and support those families.
Tonight, Denver 7 is taking a 360 look at the sudden shift to remote learning and looking ahead at which other districts may follow suit.
I was so relieved. I was so happy that they were making a decision that we have been asking for a couple of weeks now.
Teachers among the many voices sounding off about Denver's plan to keep kids home until Labor Day, possibly longer. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ann Trujillo.
And I'm Shannon Ogden. And for many parents, really, this has been the only question that has mattered for weeks now. Where will my child start the school year? In the classroom or the living room?
Well, tonight we know the answer in Denver anyway. The state's largest district today became the first to announce they are starting the school year all remote. In-person classes may start on September 8th. It might be even later.
We made this decision based on our consultation with the experts at Denver Health and in considering how we would be best positioned to safely reopen schools and do so effectively so that we don't reopen and then find ourselves having to shut down very quickly.
So many perspectives tonight. Parents are split, some thankful for the delay, others wondering how they'll manage working while having kids in the house.
And teachers are split too. Now, a vast majority thankful to be starting the year remote. Others say the online learning is just taking a toll on students' mental health. And what about our most vulnerable students? Will they be able to rely on DPS for food and the technology needed to participate in these remote classes? And tonight we're breaking down all of these perspectives and more.
And we begin with Denver 7's Eddie Guajardo, who spoke to several anxious families about what comes next.
New data from health experts on COVID-19 led Denver Public Schools to their decision for classes next fall.
Based on this new data and guidance, we must shift our plans to delay the start of the school year and continue with remote learning.
It's this announcement by DPS that lifted a weight of worries for some parents.
My initial reaction was one of tremendous relief. I think it's the only smart decision that we can make at this point. I think it's what takes care of teachers. I think it's what takes care of students.
It was a literal sigh.
But for Lakeisha Gentry, a mother with 3 children that attend DPS schools, it adds stress.
It's a lot of work having to be the teacher for 3 kids as well as working a full-time job.
A DPS survey where 53% of families responded showed 75% of families initially wanted in-person classes, but near the end, the trends shifted towards online learning, according to DPS.
I had overall concerns about their exposure and about being exposed to a wide variety of people who may or may not be infected. And we know that until we have a vaccine, we're just sort of skating back and forth between higher rates of infection and lower rates.
The school district is providing students with learning devices and Wi-Fi hotspots, but parents question the quality of learning.
I don't feel like they were learning anything.
I don't think either one of them are looking forward to going back to online learning, and I think both of them recognize it as a likely necessity.
Only time will tell, but one thing is clear, it buys time to implement guidelines parents say they need to keep their kids safe. In the meantime,
this isn't easy for a lot of families in our community, and we need to step up and make sure we're supporting each other.
Addie Guajardo, Denver 7.
These numbers may not be surprise, but they are cause for concern. 2 out of every 3 Denver students qualifies for free or reduced lunch, and many rely on the district for all of their meals and have relied on district programs over the past few months. Tonight, the district promised they will continue taking care of those kids.
We're still in development, but we will be expanding and continuing food services for our families.
District leaders emphasized tonight they've spent millions to make sure that needy kids have the technology they need for class as well. And they also called on the federal government to put up additional funding for education.
For most Denver educators, it's a sigh of relief tonight. Many were adamantly against going to school in person and spoke out to Denver 7's Gary Brode.
I do believe that remote start is what's best to keep everyone safe.
While parents and students may be split on going back to school, Denver teachers seem to have a more united front.
I was so relieved. I was so happy that they were making a decision that we have been asking for a couple of weeks now.
DPS teachers have been voicing concerns going back in person, ranging from sick time, in-person teaching exemptions, and their worries over students wearing masks in the hot buildings.
One of the issues that's been constant is a lack of AC and in some schools, and so that I know that's something that guided their decision.
According to a teachers union survey from earlier this summer, nearly 2/3 of teachers wanted remote learning. Only 3% were in favor of educating in person.
Initially, I was in favor of doing the hybrid model, and I'm also high risk, so I agreed to go back with extra precautions. As the numbers started to change, I started to really regret my decision.
The Denver Classroom Teachers Association responded with this statement, saying in part, "We appreciate the district's discussion with DCTA around these issues and thank Superintendent Cordova for this remote start decision that keeps our employees and students safe."
I think they made a difficult decision. I wish they would have made that decision earlier because parents and the community and educators need to plan for that.
Superintendent Cordova says the earliest a remote in-person hybrid learning system could start is September 8th, which may still feel a little too soon.
It just gives me, and I'm sure a lot of other educators, a sense of, okay, I have until at least September 8th to continue to feel safe and know that I'm the one in charge of the precautions that I'm choosing to take.
In Denver, Gary Brode, Denver 7.